My full name is Tamara Jane Hufford Wong. My parents were going to call me April, but a salesman came to the house up in Upper Sandusky, Ohio, and my mother liked the name Tamara, which was the name of the salesman's daughter who came to the house. So they decided if they were going to have a girl, that they were going to call me Tamara rather than April, and I'm really glad they did. I was born in Upper Sandusky, Ohio. That's northern Ohio, in Wyandotte County, and we lived there until I was 5 years old, and moved to Utica in March of 1959. So I was still 5 when we moved to Utica in March of 1959, and my dad had bought the store by that time. That's why we moved.
Okay.
My dad was going to be a history professor and was actually enrolled at Heidelberg University in Tiffin, Ohio, because my dad lived in Sycamore, Ohio, and my mother was from Tiffin, Ohio. And my mother was a secretary in an architect's office. And then my mother and father met, and they got married. And so my dad was no longer going to become a history professor. And my mother, they got married and, started a family. And like I said, when I was almost 6, why we moved to Utica, because my dad had bought the dime store. And he started working, I don't know exactly when, but he started working for a five and dime, Ben Franklin, as they later called it, in Upper Sandusky, Ohio, where we lived. And then he found out that there was a store for sale in Utica, Ohio. All kinds of people knew all kinds of business in the dime store business. And he bought the dime store from Dwight and Ethel Jewett in 1959, and so we moved to Utica in March of 1959. My sister was just a couple weeks old, Tanya Hufford. Remember at Christmas time, it's like there was very little time off because it was always about the store, the store, the store, the store. Everybody was always working at the store. I started working at the first location when I was, when we first we moved there, and it's like I started working at the dime store pretty quick, learned how to run a register in a big old brass cash register where the keys were, 5 cents, 10 cents, and everything was, rounded up to a nickel on the register, that I can remember. But, I remember at the first location, we had a candy counter. We sold Brock's candy. And eventually that became my duty to make sure that that candy case was stocked. And Brock's candy was really good. It's like I especially like their chocolate covered peanuts and their chocolate maple clusters. And used to eat quite a bit of those when I was filling up the candy case. I don't remember the year that we moved into the second location of the dime store, but I do remember when I was 10 years old, 5th grade, I was helping my father clean the basement out of the second location. The picture that I saw that you showed me yesterday from on the Historical Society. And I think that store probably, I don't remember the year that it opened, but I know my brothers were really, really small. Mm-hmm. So I'm thinking in probably maybe 65. I'm not sure. Maybe earlier. I don't remember. What I do remember is that every Friday and Saturday, my job, I moved on over there, and when all the kids were at basketball games and stuff like that on Friday and Saturday night, and football games, good old Tammy Hufford was stuck behind the register down at the dime store.
No.
And so, I rarely got to go to a dance or a game, but, and then I worked all day Saturday, and my dad was very, very strict about working. You had to be on time. And, but it's like if you went to the bathroom, then you asked to go an hour later, his response would be, didn't you just go? So he was very, very strict. And, but, I still remember what counters I had at the second location. I had the candy counter, the Fresh Rocks candy, and then I had the candy counter by the register. Eventually, I had all of the greeting card lines, and then I had the makeup counter. So my dad would always make me dust in between. And back in those days, you made counters with pieces of, departments to put the stuff in, little compacts or crayons. The way you made counters was you had clips and you cut glass in order to make the places for the items on the shelves. And, but I remember when I was, I think, a junior in high school, I'm not sure, maybe I was younger, I talked my dad into getting records at the dime store, and that was huge. 45s and then albums. And
wow.
that was a big, big deal, man.
Yeah.
That was a big, big deal. I mean, we went to church every Sunday, and Easter was always a good, a good thing because, we all got Easter basket. But, a favorite toy, what I mostly remember was, I had a little turtle that would go clickety-clack when I was a small child. But, we lived on Main Street, and right there by, Babs Station and stuff like that. And across the street was the Four Pines Inn, a restaurant, and Johnny Blake's mother used to work there. And I got a pony for my 10th birthday, and Johnny Blake used to come over to my house, and first thing we would do is, go see my pony in the barn, and my pony's name was Bunny. We got him from the Rice family out towards Northridge High School, and pony's name was Bunny because he was born on Easter. But my favorite thing to do as a little kid was the house we lived in on Main Street had a dirt driveway all the way down to a barn in the back. And, you said you didn't grow up in Utica, but Utica they called it the Old Mill Run because there used to be a mill. I don't think it was there anymore. Well, maybe it was. Yeah. Mill Street, the mill on Mill Street, and then there's a mill up by the railroad tracks. So it's, whatever, Central or something. But there used to be a place from the mill, a location where they called it the Old Mill Run. Mm-hmm. And it used to flood. And in the summer, I would take my pony across, down in the gully and then across to the township lot there for Bunny to graze. But there was a driveway down to the barn. I'm probably not making a lot of sense. A driveway down to the barn, all dirt. And I had a special little wooden barn that somebody had made for the store. And I think it was something to do for a baby shower or kids' toys or something. I don't know. Anyhow, it was a small wooden barn, probably about, 2.5, 3 feet across. And my favorite thing was to make roads in the dirt and the gravel so that I could get my trucks and my tractors into that barn. That was my most favorite thing to do, was to make roads in the dirt and the gravel and to get my toy trucks and tractors into the barn. And, we had a lot of, that's the days of metal toys. And so I had some really cool trucks and tractors and things like that. But, in the wintertime, why that old mill run would get the water in there, and there used to be a place where it would freeze and I would slip and slide on it. I lived next to Debbie Ferguson. And if you went on up the street a little ways, I'm not sure, and I can't remember who else lived in that other house, but I remember that. And then, it was the second house. I don't know what Utica looks like now. I haven't been home in 6 years, but originally it was the second house from the house on the left, right there by, where 13 and 62 meet. But we lived catty-cornered across the street from Babs's gas station.
Okay.
And I remember one day the house that we lived in, it had a little, like, probably what you'd call it now, a grandparents unit or something in back of it. And I came out of that little grandparents unit, this little house. Somebody's parent had lived there, and I saw a snake. And I screamed bloody murder. My mom screamed bloody murder. And Tommy Babb came from across the gas station and killed that snake with a shovel. And so, and then I rode my bicycle up to the dime store to tell my dad that there was a snake. And on Main Street, used to be Lawson's house, and then right next to the wooden building, I think it's, or not wooden, brick building, it used to be the car dealership. I think it was Law Chevrolet, or no, Ford, a Ford dealership, because my dad bought a station wagon there in 62 when my brothers were born.